Why are we colonizing Mars first? Why not the Moon? We are going to the Moon first. NASA's plan is to build a lunar base, as well as a station in orbit around the Moon, and eventually as a long-term plan to use that as the base for missions to Mars. It's much cheaper to stage them from the Moon rather than launching directly from here. Edit. The first missions will clearly have to launch from Earth. Yes. But eventually the idea is to use the station in orbit around the Moon as a fueling station among other things. Mars has better conditions for human survival than the Moon. Not saying humans can survive in both of them, but the conditions in Mars can easily be managed compared to those in the Moon. I'm talking about climate, environment, oxygen, etc. There is on and off discussion of setting up a moon base as a staging point for other space missions. But the Moon by itself isn't really conducive to sustaining life, even with all the technology at our disposal. Mars at least has some atmosphere and some accessible water and some soil and a reasonable amount of gravity, which are all useful things for building a colony. It's unfortunate we don't already have moon bases in moon cases by now. Moon caves would be able to provide the basic structure and shielding for habitation. And the nice thing is that Earth is only a few days' trip away. Unlike Mars, where it's something like 9 months or more. Heck, imagine how much ad revenue a pizza company could make by delivering a pizza to the moon cave. Moon base. Even though it would take 3 days to get there, that would be much harder on Mars. I think the Moon would be a great testing ground, where we can learn some lessons in the relative safety of our local system before we head out to Mars. We're not colonizing Mars or the Moon, but we are unterraforming Earth. We are not colonizing Mars, lol. Listen, I love your excitement for science and space, but I need you to understand something. Getting to Mars is the easy part, and that's really saying something given the largest payload we have landed on the planet is only about 2,000 pounds. Never mind any kind of return journey. Now, let's say we can land humans on Mars. Now what? We can just barely support a dozenish people that live on the ISS, which requires constant resupply, even living on either most inhospitable places on Earth. Think Antarctica, Atacama Desert, treading water in the middle of the ocean, Florida, are all far superior in every way that even the best place Mars has to offer. Think of it this way. We tried to build a self-sustaining base on Earth and it failed. That was only for a few people as well. Mars has more similarities to Earth, which would make it easier to terraform and support sustainable life. However, there are no concrete plans to colonize either celestial body. Because we have to get back to Matt Damon. His ass is freezing out there. Because Mars has a serious kangaroo problem, it's full of marsupials. The Nazis live there. For a start, the atmosphere of Mars is much more similar to Earth's than the Moon's. Carbon dioxide in Mars's atmosphere means that the hardiest of plants, given some extra human attention, could grow there. Why not Antarctica? There's frozen water on Mars, so there's that. But we are in the stages of planning a moon base. The Moon is full of helium-3, which we plan on mining and use as a fuel source. With that, once we leave Earth orbit, we would go to the Moon, top off the tanks and head to Mars. I actually got to work on one of the prototypes for moon fuel harvesting. Pretty neat stuff. Mars has gravity comparable to Earth's. It's much lighter, yes, but will be better for the human body than the Moon. Mars has an atmosphere, which will allow it to possibly be terraformed. If that isn't just a sci-fi concept. and would be able to block out some harmful radiation. Mars has water. And this is only a guess. But Mars probably has better mining potential, which means we can start building our own things there. Also, Mars is a planet. We can officially call ourselves an interplanetary species. Total bragging rights. The reason you'd colonize Mars first is because it's got resources and an atmosphere. The Moon is a good place to build a way station, but it's lacking in valuable resources and there's no way to terraform it to habitability. Because Mars has more gravity, water, and also can hold on to its atmosphere better. Although, Moon can serve as the station between Earth and Mars. The Moon is claimed. There isn't a good reason to go to Mars. It's a ploy by a couple billionaires to juice their stocks for their shareholders because tech is stalling. So the only way to get that perpetual growth they need is by pitching moonshot ideas that get cycled through the news. NASA wants a moon base because that's an idea that makes sense. Eventually, in the distant future, we may make it to Mars. But it's not a super habitable place to start. What little differences there are in habitability besides having slightly better gravitational conditions are more than outweighed by how massively far away the planet is. It's a logistical nightmare to envision getting a steady stream of supplies to Mars. The aliens told us to never come back.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.